In October of 2007, one of the biggest rappers in America was on top of the world. Albums were selling by the millions, awards were piling up, Hollywood opportunities were opening up, and on the night of the BET Hip Hop Awards in Atlanta, rapper T.I. was expected to be one of the stars of the show. But just hours before he was scheduled to appear, federal agents moved in. Instead of walking the red carpet, T.I. found himself in handcuffs. The charges were serious. Federal prosecutors accused the rap star of attempting to acquire unregistered machine guns and silencers despite being legally prohibited from possessing firearms because of a prior felony conviction. What followed would become one of the most shocking celebrity criminal cases of the late 2000s. This story is a deep dive into the federal gun case of rapper T.I. Before the arrest, T.I. was arguably at the peak of his career. Born Clifford Harris Jr. in Atlanta, Georgia, he rose from difficult circumstances to become one of the most influential figures in Southern hip-hop. Albums such as Trap Music, Urban Legend, and King helped establish him as a dominant force in rap music. But by 2007, T.I. wasn't just a rapper. He was a businessman, actor, label executive, and cultural icon. His album, T.I. vs. T.I.P., debuted at #1 on the charts, and his popularity extended far beyond the music industry. To fans, it seemed like nothing could stop his momentum because T.I. was on fire. Nobody expected him to cool down anytime soon, but authorities saw things differently. According to court records, the events that led to T.I.'s arrest were influenced by a growing concern for his personal safety. Just a year earlier, one of his closest friends and bodyguards, Valant Johnson, had been murdered following a concert appearance. The killing reportedly left a lasting impact on the rapper. Friends and associates later described T.I. as increasingly concerned about security and protection in the aftermath of the tragedy. Prosecutors would later argue that those fears contributed to decisions made in a state of extreme paranoia that ultimately placed him in federal court. What happened next would trigger a federal investigation.
I had guns in the car, machine guns and silencers in the car. I had a couple more handguns also in the car for protection, of course. And all of those, we feel we could have beat.
Yeah, because there were never any conversations about silencers.
Right.
There's nothing, anything about you talking about machine guns.
Right.
And nothing to do with that.
When they went to my house and went in my closet and saw I had a vault full of more guns. And
that presented a bit of a problem.
But not even just that. The method in which you gained entry into this vault in my closet in the master bedroom of my house was biometric fingerprint scan, which I thought was very cool 007 type shit to do at the time. And that's the only motherfucking thing that kept me from beating the entire case.
Yeah.
Investigators alleged that T.I. used a bodyguard to acquire firearms on his behalf. According to authorities, the bodyguard had been arrested while attempting to purchase weapons from an undercover federal agent. Facing his own legal problems, the bodyguard began cooperating with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Investigators claimed the bodyguard informed them that the weapons were actually intended for T.I. That cooperation quickly transformed the firearms investigation into a major celebrity case. Federal agents began monitoring communications and arranging a controlled purchase. The stage was set. On October 13, 2007, authorities said that T.I. arrived at a location in Atlanta to complete the transaction. Federal agents alleged that the purchase involved several highly regulated weapons, including machine guns and silencers. Before the deal could be finalized, agents moved in. T.I. was arrested just hours before the BET Hip Hop Awards ceremony. The timing shocked the entertainment industry. News outlets across the country immediately reported that one of rap's biggest stars had been taken into federal custody. The allegations became even more serious when authorities publicly displayed weapons they said were connected to the investigation, including machine guns, silencers, and firearms recovered during searches. T.I. was later charged with possession of unregistered machine guns and silencers, as well as possessions of firearms by a convicted felon. Because of previous felony convictions, prosecutors claimed he was legally prohibited from possessing firearms at all. The potential consequences were enormous. Reports indicated he faced years in federal prison. If convicted on all counts, the case immediately threatened not only his freedom, but also his career and public image. For months, T.I. remained under strict supervision after securing release on a multi-million-dollar bond. His movements were heavily restricted, and he was largely confined to his home while awaiting the outcome of the case. Then came one of the most historical plea agreements ever seen in a celebrity federal case. In 2008, T.I. pleaded guilty to federal firearms charges as part of a plea agreement. But instead of immediately going to prison, prosecutors in the court approved an arrangement that allowed the rapper to spend time speaking to the youth about violence, gangs, drugs, and poor decisions. The agreement required extensive community service and public outreach efforts before sentencing. His supporters believed that his ability to reach at-risk youth could have a positive impact on thousands of lives. Critics argued that ordinary defendants would never receive such a deal. The debate quickly became national news. Was T.I. receiving special treatment because he was famous, or was the court simply using his influence to create something beneficial for the community? In March of 2009, the wait finally ended. A federal judge sentenced T.I. to 1 year and a day in federal prison. He was also ordered to pay a substantial fine and complete additional conditions associated with his release. The sentence was significantly lower than the maximum penalties he could have faced had the case gone to trial, and ended in conviction. Standing before reporters, T.I. acknowledged the reality of what laid ahead of him. For the first time in years, the superstar's future was uncertain. His career had survived the arrest, but could it survive a year behind bars? In May of 2009, T.I. reported to a federal correctional facility in Arkansas to begin serving his sentence. For a man accustomed to sold-out arenas, luxury hotels, and celebrity status, prison represented an entirely different reality. The music industry continued moving forward. Artists released new albums, new stars emerged, and questions remained about whether audiences would still support him upon release. Yet even while incarcerated, T.I. was still planning his comeback. After serving his sentence, T.I. was released from federal custody and later transitioned through a halfway house before regaining his freedom. Many celebrities never fully recover from a federal conviction. T.I. did. He returned to music, television, business ventures, and public life. While the federal gun case remains one of the most controversial chapters of his career, it did not permanently end it. Instead, it became a defining moment, a cautionary tale about how quickly success can collide with poor decisions. The T.I. gun case wasn't just a story of a rapper arrested with illegal firearms. It was a story of fear, fame, poor judgment, and consequences. A man who had climbed from the rough streets of Atlanta to the top of the music industry found himself facing federal prosecutors and the possibility of spending years in prison. In the end, he lost his freedom for a moment in time, but not his entire future. And nearly 2 decades later, the case still remains one of the most memorable federal controversies involving the hip-hop legend. For some, it's proof that no one is above the law. For others, it's evidence that even life-changing mistakes do not have to define the rest of a person's story. The question is, if federal agents had not intervened that day in 2007, how different would T.I.'s legacy look today?